What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my Thursday Night Football FanDuel Single-Game breakdown for the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results as we get closer to lock. I'm saying that now, but I'm going to be perfectly honest. There aren't going to be sim results as we get closer to lock. I am leaving for vacation. This is going to be the only way that this exists. I'll be back on Sunday. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, still follow me on Twitter, though. It's a really good place to be. Let me know in the comments section who are your favorite options at MVP and at Flex for tonight's slate. Some of the high-level stuff. 94.5. That's the average fantasy points in the optimal winning lineup. $59,000. That's the median salary used. On average, 2.3 Patriots, 2.7 Rams in the optimal lineup. Rams are 5-point favorites at home with a 45-point game total. Now, it's time to dive in to the MVPs. No surprise here, we've got two quarterbacks at the top of the list, coming in at $16K. At the top of the heap for me personally, 32% of the time it's Cam Newton. I think that you get a little bit of a bonus just from him being able to score a couple rushing touchdowns if possible. I think that pushes him a little bit ahead of Goff, even at $500 more expensive. Public ownership might say something a little bit different. It's not that I don't like Goff. Goff is just a step behind Cam. I've got Goff 25% in the optimal lineup. Again, $500 cheaper than Cam. I think that Goff and Cam are both going underrepresented as of right now. Happy to load up on them, but that's about 57% of the time that one of the quarterbacks is in the optimal. There are three other main guys that I would have my eye on. The next two are both Rams receivers. That would be Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Woods $500 more expensive than Kupp. I think they're both owned pretty efficiently right now, so it's not something I'm diving into too much, but 10%, 11%, they make up a large chunk of it. The other guy that I would go to, 7.8% of the time in the optimal, just a hair above his current projected ownership, that would be Jacoby Myers at $10,500. It's not my favorite spot in the world. I think he's I don't know if there's enough additional salary to save you on a Myers MVP spot on FanDuel in particular, but he would be the guy that makes up the top five. So it's Cam, Goff, Kupp, Woods, Jacoby Myers, MVP, best plays for today. Now, at the flex spot, I think things are a little bit different. I would much rather get a little bit more Cam and a little bit more Goff at MVP. I think they're slightly too highly owned at the flex spot, so I just want more ownership in the spot where I can get the 1.5x. Doesn't mean that they're not the best options, because Goff and Cam are two of the top three, actually two of the top two guys that you could roster in the flex spot. They both show up there about 35% of the time. Jacoby Myers, same story. 10,500 shows up in the optimal in the flex spot about 35% of the time. And then we start to get into a little bit of a weird bunch, but Cam Akers at 12.5, probably my best play that's, north of 10K. Projected for 10.4 fantasy points, shows up in the optimal 32% of the time. And I think he's in the right salary tier, because I'm not a huge fan of Damian Harris right now. Not a huge fan of Darrell Henderson at 11K. After that, we work our way down a little bit further. You get to someone like Damiere Byrd, who shows up in the optimal about 25% of the time. I greatly prefer Matt Gay, if he is the kicker today, over Nick Folk. If it's not Matt Gay and it's McGinnis, I think, going off the top of my head, it's just a kicker. It's not all that important. I prefer that combination over Nick Folk. Coming in a little bit low owned, and at 8K, you get the $1,000 cheaper benefit than Folk. That's the way that I'd be going in terms of rostering a kicker. And then if you're trying to pay down further, it's kind of bleak. Tyler Higbee, Malcolm Brown, 8K and 7,500 respectively, only show up in the optimal about 10% of the time. Gerald Everett at 7,500, only about 5% of the time. I don't really see a lot of interesting options below Matt Gay at 8K. If you're playing 150, then you can certainly go to Higbee, Brown, Everett, maybe Ryan Izzo at 6K, but I'm not sure I love that either. This is a day where you're kind of just sifting through the same stuff at the top, unfortunately. Now, I do actually have public ownership today. I'm not going to touch on the specific numbers, but I can tell you who I'm looking to fade at least a little bit. So Damian Harris MVP, I think, is a little too highly owned, as is Cam Akers. Darrell Henderson is the biggie on the flex side. I have him massively under where his projected ownership is. That's a guy that I'll have 0 of. I would guess Damian Harris is also a guy that I would have 0 of. 12K just seems a little bit too expensive for this spot. Not exactly excited about it. He does show up in the optimal about 19% of the time, but his current public ownership a lot higher than that. The guy that I really want to try to avoid in the flex spot, I think he's just too expensive, too over-owned. It's Robert Woods. That's not going to make you feel good. And again, he shows up in the optimal 25% of the time. That's a pretty high number. It's significantly less than where his public ownership is. And I think that's a nice spot where you can get a little leverage on the field. You can kind of do the same with Tyler Higbee at the opposite side. If he's the value play you have your eye on, I think he's a little over-owned. I think it's easier to just go to someone like Malcolm Brown instead. Alrighty, guys, that will do it. That is my FanDuel single game breakdown for Thursday Night Football, Pats and Rams. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Check out the DraftKings version of this video, which should be floating around here as well. Apologies for not having any updates on Twitter tonight. You should still follow me. It helps me out a ton, but I'm getting away for a couple days. Coming back, roaring to go. I need to recharge the batteries for the NBA season in like 2 weeks because we're going to be doing videos like this every single day of the week, save for the weekends because guys got to take a break from time to time. Anyway, thank you. Like, subscribe, follow. You guys know the drill. Good luck tonight. I'll talk to you again Monday morning for Monday Night Football Showdown breakdowns. Shouldn't have said showdown. I meant single game, but FanDuel's not going to yell at me.